which is very young.
I've already put in 32 years of service.
Touch wood. Great. It's such a great institution. I mean, it's a marvelous thing to be a part of. And what are these interest rates they're talking about?
So we have cut the interest rates by another 10 bps.
BPS. Okay.
Wanted to do something for Holi, something for Women's Day. So the best offer is, of course, for the women who take a loan on YONO.
Yeah.
And otherwise, by 10 bps.
Ma'am, why the differentiation when all other times you are telling you are equal and now only for women less?
No. It is for everybody, including women. So,
No, not as yet, Ji.
So we, in any case, give 5% extra, 5 bps extra to women in all our offerings. And YONO is another platform which we want to encourage people to use. There also give 5 bps extra.
Ma'am, thank you very much. What will happen? The lady of the house will get importance. I was just telling on a lighter tone, but Sanjay Dutt from Tata is also there. Sanjay, if you can switch on your video.
Sir, attendees are also now joined, so they are also part of it.
Very good afternoon. This is Sanjay. I hope you can see me and hear me.
Your voice is really not very clear, Mr. Sanjay. Good afternoon to you.
Very good afternoon. So I will just make sure that I switch to a better network. Just bear with me. I hope you can hear me better.
Yes, of course.
Now it's better, sir. Yes.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Ma'am, Niranjan sir would join in a minute. Once Niranjan sir joins, we will go live. Renu ma'am is also going to join, but she had some emergency. So she told she will join.
Okay.
So till then we can carry on once Niranjan sir joins. Anuj is also there.
Hi, Rajan.
Man in form and the fire round. Ma'am, you are going to have a fire round with Mr. Anuj Puri.
Okay.
Rapid fire chat.
Absolutely a delight. You know, you've got all the diggats here, starting with Mr. Rajiv Talwar, the man himself.
Hi, Anuj. Always good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Hi, Anuj.
Hi, Sanjay.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you.
I wanted to add to what Mr. Rajan Bandelkar said about Anuj. The man in form in perpetuity. The most consistent of all. Yes. And also the most hardworking, I would say.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Very kind of you.
Anuj, you should change your name to Bhratashri now from Anuj.
Yes.
Because you have become Bhratashri now.
Yes, well said. Very well said. One of the most outstanding, so he's always inspired people, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from him as well.
Sanjay.
Anuj.
I am getting embarrassed.
No, and like we have other leaders on the
Don't
call.
worry, Niranjan sir has joined, so we will not waste much of our time once Niranjan sir is live. Niranjan sir, if you can hear us.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Very good. Oh, Mr. Anuj Puri, how are you? Mr. Sanjay
Good
Dutt,
afternoon,
how
sir.
are you,
Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, good to see you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Fine, thank you.
Sir, Saloni
Very good
ma'am is
afternoon,
there.
sir. I'm Saloni Narayan from State Bank. I'm the
Oh.
GM of retail.
So nice to have you, madam. It's such a pleasure to have money bags here.
Sir Niranjan sir, I would request you to start. Renu ma'am would join. Till then, after you, Saloni ma'am will take it over.
All right. A very good afternoon to each and every one of you. It's such a pleasure to be here today. The positives of the story of the economy has been reiterated by many today. We are now talking about a growth of GDP, which will be at 15% plus. And after taking consideration of inflation, it's expected to be between 10 and 11% plus. The last 4 months have seen an extraordinary increase in the sales of real estate. This is indeed a pleasurable change that has taken place, because ever since demonetization, there was a downward look towards the real estate as a business. The changes which have now taken place are certainly unique, certainly different than what we are seeing. What is it that really has made this change? I think there are several factors. One of the first thing is that there is a positive outlook in terms of what the future of India is going to be. The second is, of course, the fact that interest rates are the lowest in 15 years. So people do find it wonderful. We are also grateful to all the financial banks and financial institutions for seeing that long-term funding is now available in the housing finance segment. And of course, the NPA in the home loan segment has been the lowest ever. I understand in most cases, it's less than 2%, even in the worst of banks and financial institutions. So I think a combination of all these factors have really made a change in the marketplace. However, what is really helped is the additional factor that the states have also gone ahead in order to make a difference. The state of Maharashtra reduced stamp duty between September and December 2020 from a rate of 5% down to 2%, a reduction of 3% across the board. This precipitated a lot of people whom I think Mr. Sanjay Dutt mentioned were fence sitters in one of the meetings that he held. And he said that it is going to make a world of a difference for people to do closures. I think all these factors made a difference. People have been stuck at home. And in this period, people started valuing that you needed a better home and a house. So surprisingly, we found that those people who were asking for 1 bedroom were asking for 2 bedrooms or 2.5 bedrooms, and then even 3 bedrooms. So people were upgrading themselves in this period, which in a COVID period found a positive outlook for the developers and those people, especially those who had stocks with them, which were ready or close to ready. So there were several benefits for a house buyer. Number one, if you had an occupation certificate, you didn't pay GST, so you saved 5%. If you were in Maharashtra, you saved 3%. And again, as many of us have done, there has been a reduction in the rates of flats, or at least people have not increased the rates in spite of the inflationary tendencies which have taken place. All in all, I think has created reality to move to the next level. Let me shift to a slightly different perspective. And we need to be with the Prime Minister when he talks about housing for all. The target of housing for all is being met. This is really stunning because in most government programs, it's never done on time. So in reality, we must congratulate the minister, Mr. Hardeep Puri, the secretary who has been there all this time, Mr. Mishra, and all the other team for working out a project which has brought a Along with that, there was a 3% interest subvention for the Prime Minister PMAY scheme for a period of 15 years, and the funds have actually been paid out. Normally, in these programs, the funds do get stuck, and this has made a world of a difference. All in all, what do we see in terms of a prospective movement? Number one, we think that with the vaccine happening to come into place, it is our belief in NAREDCO, in ASSOCHAM, and in various other organizations that we talk, that the market situation in terms of the problem of the pandemic will vanish after June or July of 2021. With a vanishing of the issue of the pandemic, we will definitely see a sea change in terms of splurge, in terms of the real estate as a business. And as the economy moves up, we are definitely going to see a further increase in the situation that we have in terms of sales. Big question mark in the question of commercial sales. And this is something which we could debate about, and I would love to get other people's opinion on what they have to say, especially in the fact of a work to home. Now that we have got a feedback from most of our clients and customers, we find that there is at the most going to be a 10 to 15% reduction of the people who will be back and only working from home. If that is the real case that we see, that means the growth in the market will come. And of course, the secondary effect of how America behaves with the rest of the world in terms of outsourcing will also be an issue that we will have to estimate. My guesstimate is that the demand in terms of commercial post-Diwali 2021 is also going to see an aggressive change. Even in our company, we are betting on an aggressive commercial market too, along with the residential market. And we are hoping that this thing will work out very quickly. So post June, July of 2021, we think that the people will be back into their offices post vaccination. And these are the changes which are really going to take place. However, various things do happen which we cannot predict in such a straight way. And hence we will have to be careful to see that we do not overextend ourselves in this period in order to have those questions. There's only one more point I would like to add. Those companies which have already gone into an NPA situation and or those projects are in difficulty, we are still not been able to get out of it. The Swami Fund has been an initiator and has taken up some of those projects in order to fill in the gap of last mile funding, in spite of the fact that the projects are in NCLT or they have gone into NPA. But that's not sufficient. We do need to work out additional funding at a macro level, with individual banks and financial institutions also coming into the picture. I have represented both to the finance minister, to the Governor, Reserve Bank of India, to see that this type of funding should be done. We have had a positive response from HDFC, ICICI, Kotak, and other banks and financial institutions also to be supportive of similar funds to be done, but unfortunately not taking off. So we do need to focus on this in a very strong way so that the number of projects which are stuck into the marketplace should be saved. And I think as far as NAREDCO is concerned, we are going to make extreme efforts to see that these stuck up projects should be pulled out of the well as quickly as possible so that the consumer, the various investors and stakeholders who are there funding, financing, buyers, mortgage people, all the other people should get it, the contractors get the money, and other things should be done as soon as possible. And I leave it open to the other speakers also in order to give their views on what we need to do in these projects which are actually stuck up. Because we do feel that with some additional funding, which could be a priority lending, or the funding given now could be a priority lending which will get a first right to get back in order to complete these projects, because these projects have been hung for too long a period of time. So personally, and on behalf of NAREDCO, we are very bullish in 2021, and we think that it's going to definitely make a world of a difference in terms of how the economy will move. The stock market is a clear indicator of how things are going to come, and the world is flush with money. So I'm going to ask all the bankers and financiers who are over here today, please tell us, how can we get that surplus money lying all over the world, waiting to come to America, to come more into real estate? Please guide us. And we at NAREDCO would love to follow your instructions, guidance, and so on and so forth, in order to see that this money is lucratively used in order to take care of the housing sector. So I will certainly look at those inputs also from all the people who are the brains of finance in this country. Thank you very much for joining us here today. It's such a delight to be here on this platform, and look forward to many such interactions in the future in order that all the stakeholders have a great future. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Niranjan sir. You are as powerful as ever, because I will tell you, everybody waits to listen to you, sir. And people always are pin drop silent, because they don't want to miss even a single sentence or a single word, whatever you speak, because they know you are the leader of our industry, you are the vision of NAREDCO, and under your leadership, we have grown from pin to pole. But today, this session is power packed by women. Especially there are 2 women who are going to fund us, or the real estate industry. Rather, the 3rd woman is also there, Tara Subramaniam. Ma'am, we welcome you on this webinar. And now I would give a small introduction about Saloni Narayan ma'am. As SBI, whoever comes on SBI, they doesn't need any introduction, but still, as a matter of fact and matter of routine, she is the Deputy Managing Director, Retail Business, State Bank of India. And fortunately, we are lucky enough because she sits in Mumbai. So ma'am, we will come. Now we have met you on virtual, but we'll physically take your time and come and meet you and harass you a little bit, so that you also feel कि बाबा इनको पैसे दे दो तो थोड़ा जान छोड़ देंगे, मतलब easy हो जाएगा ऐसे. She is a very illustrative career of almost 32 to 33 years in SBI, holding various positions like CGM of Lucknow Circle, GM of Mumbai Northwest Circle. Presently, she is the head of retail business of SBI, consisting PVBU, SMU, and RESBU. Ma'am, entire industry is waiting to listen from you. So over to you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajan. And you have rightly said that to be a speaker after Shri Hiranandani has spoken, I think it's the most difficult thing for me. And I don't know why I've been chosen to speak after him, because he has said it all. So very good afternoon to all of you. A real pleasure to be here on this panel with such eminent persons. Really don't know whether I should be speaking before any of you, but thank you very much for giving me a chance. And today, of course, virtual is now the new normal. So meeting in person perhaps looks difficult in the next 1 month at least. At least the vaccines need to be, at least the process needs to be started. From today it has started, so hopefully in 1 month's time we should be getting it, all of us. And till that time, we all need to stay safe, stay secure, and take care of our families. Once again, very good afternoon to all of you. It is my privilege to be speaking to this kind of august audience. And retail estate sector, I feel, is the most critical sector. If the economy has to grow, this retail estate sector must grow. It comprises of 4 subsectors: housing, retail, hospitality, and commercial. The growth of this sector is well complemented by the growth in the corporate environment. and the demand for office space as well as urban and semi-urban accommodations. The construction industry ranks third among the 14 major sectors in terms of direct, indirect, and induced effects in all sectors of the economy. So the importance of this sector cannot be overemphasized. The annual construction by the real estate stands at 12.53 lakh crores, which is roughly 6.1% of the GDP, of which developers housing contributes 42%, self-construction constitutes 53%. The rest, of course, is 5% the other construction activities. The sector actually contributes 2.2 crore to the employment of this country, which is very critical, especially at this juncture. And it is approximately 5% of the total workforce that we have. In terms of revenue, 1.5 trillion comes by way of taxes and duties from this important sector. Of late, we have seen a lot of stress in this sector. Of course, not only in this sector, in the economy per se, but we are very upbeat about the future because we have seen the last quarter performance and the economy has already come out of recession. We have grown by 0.4% of GDP, which at least says that the worst is behind us. And looking at the outlook for the next year, as Niranjan sir has already mentioned, that the GDP growth number is pegged at 11% real and 15% nominal. So all this will happen. Of course, it's not a very clear-cut arithmetic, depending on the upsurge of COVID and also the vaccination, how quickly people can get it. These are some of the riders, but definitely the outlook on the economy is very, very upbeat, and we are totally poised to participate in this growth story. And we'll be very happy to join hands with the builders, with the customers, with all the stakeholders to make sure that whatever is required from the banks, we do not step backwards. In the near term, we have seen a lot of uptick in consumer demand. After the lockdown was eased, first 2 months, we thought it was the pent-up demand that was actually showing up. But eventually, it was the festival euphoria. Then we had steps being taken by the Maharashtra government, by Karnataka government, all these things. And the message from the center also was loud and clear. And the bankers also, I guess, did not hesitate to bring down the rates of interest. And I think we are living in a world of rock bottom rate of interest. So all this has actually aided in improving the customer sentiment, the consumer sentiment. And while there has been a slowdown in the discretionary spending by the customers, home buying is not really a discretionary spending. Roti, kapda or makan is something that every Indian dreams of and wants to have. So I think the worst is behind us, and we are all set to embark into a future of growth and embark into a future of improvement in all segments. And real estate being what it is, it has a lot of backward and forward linkages. And if this sector improves, I think the whole economy will bounce back. And we are already seeing a lot of V-shaped recovery as far as retail demand is concerned. And of course, the aviation piece, the tourism, all that will take some time to actually bounce back. But the supply side, the high frequency indicators like power generation, like crop production, or maybe the GST collection, all this is showing an uptick. And we are confident that this will lead to the overall bouncing back of the economy. The rural demand is also resilient. And if you look at the tractor sales, YOY, there is a positive growth. And that is one very positive indicator of the rural sentiment being up. And the growth, what we expect in real estate, is going to come more in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, especially because of our Prime Minister's focus on housing for all by 2022 and affordable segment getting a push from the government. Another new reality that has come on us is the work from home, which has triggered the phenomenon of spatial diffusion of jobs. The high cost of living and the density of city and experience of remote working, coupled with cost benefits in living in smaller cities, will lead to people moving to smaller cities. So the housing demand driven by migration will not be to the big cities, it should be to the mid-sized cities where you have the facilities of health and education in place. Tier 2 cities, already we are finding greater demand in the tier 2 cities. And while earlier in the bank, in State Bank, 50% of the growth came from the 6 metros that we had, we are seeing that this growth is coming from everywhere. It is not just the metro which is contributing, it is also the tier 2 and tier 3 cities that are contributing. So, and Finance Minister has already committed to an infusion of 1.7 lakh crores for the manufacturing industry. The land cost, labor cost being cheaper in tier 2 cities, the manufacturing units are more likely to operate from the smaller towns than the bigger towns. The economic growth in the smaller towns will further boost the housing production and credit growth to the broader regions of the Indian economy. Besides, 217 infrastructure projects have been completed, but the sector needs long-term debt financing. A new debt financial institution is also to be set up with an allocation of 20,000 crores. Finance Minister has also announced funding of for an expansion of metro routes in Kochi, Chennai, Bengaluru, Nagpur, and Nasik. 2 new technologies, Metro Light and Metro New, will be deployed in tier 2 cities and the peripheral areas of tier 1 cities to boost connectivity. All this will lead to habitation in these new centers, and we are very buoyant about this particular sector picking up in a very, very big way. In the short term, we have seen growth more in the tier 2, growth more towards construction, loans being taken for construction of home loans, and more in terms of second-hand purchases. These are some of the trends that have come out in the last few months that we have been seeing. And I'm very happy to tell you that despite all this pandemic, today we have crossed the 1 lakh crore sanctions in housing loan. That I'm talking about the home loans in particular. So that's a huge landmark for us. And looking at what the potential is there, the structural demand for home loans will always be there, because as of now, the mortgage penetration is just 6 or 7%. And I think by 2030, 2025, it is expected to be 13% with all the steps that the government is taking. So there's huge opportunity for all of us sitting here in the room and all who are joined on the Zoom call. Only we have to leverage this to our advantage and make sure that this dream of housing for all by 2022 is delivered by one and all. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Ma'am, thank you very much. The basic, I will tell you what happened. In COVID, I don't think anyone has been in home for more than 60 days once he has grown up, or rather even newborn also.
Yes.
Newborn also, they were never 60 days continuously at home.
Absolutely.
So that has given importance for each and every individual. Staying at home is how difficult or how important is your home.
Correct.
So that's why that created. And first I would like to compliment all the developers. I know rarely people compliment the developers, but here I would like to, even though I am associated with NEREDCO, but still I would like to compliment the developer for reducing the rates, and they
Oh,
have
yes.
reduced the rate.
Developers have actually done a fantastic job in taking that 2 steps extra to make sure that the deal is closed and the inventory levels are coming down. A great job done by all the developers. So it
Yeah,
is more a question of affordability.
ma'am, you are telling something.
So I'm saying it's more a question of affordability because the builders have brought down the rate, the stamp duty has also come down, and the rate of interest is also low. And generally speaking, for the salaried employees, the salary has really not gone down. At least in the government sector, we don't see any kind of stress. So this is the time when these deals have been actually. And in December, I guess in Maharashtra, we had the largest number of registrations. Rather, in the whole of India, we found we were the best in this because of all the enablers that the builders have actually given to the potential customers.
Thank you, ma'am, for retreating the words, whatever I said, because generally developers are always blamed. But for the first time, I think where due credit has to be given, it has to be
Oh, yes.
given. And moreover, I will tell you in Maharashtra what happened. Majority of the developers, rather I would tell you 80 to 90% of the developers have made zero stamp duty. Matlab they have taken the hit in rate as well as stamp duty. And once again, a folded and thank you to all the financial institutions. Why I am telling you all the financial institutions? Because home loan rates, I think probably after 2003-4, this might be the first time the home loan rates have come so low, below 7%. And especially SBI was the leader in that. So thank you very much. So without taking much of all other participants' time, I would request Raju Sabharwal. We call Sir as Amitabh Bachchan of financial industry because he is tall, 6 foot tall, and looks also very handsome. If he wouldn't have been in financial industry, 100%, he would have given a tough time to Amitabh Bachchan. So, sir, over to you, sir. And everybody knows that after Niranjan in financial industry, whenever you speak, each and everyone thinks that you knows the pulse of all developer, pulse of industry. So each and everyone is waiting to hear to you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ranji. As Saloni mentioned, it's very tough to speak after Niranjan Bhai has spoken, but I think it puts even more pressure with all the data coming in from Saloni and all the facts coming from her. But let me attempt something. I think we are today in good times. After a long time, we are having a session where we are all talking about good things and we are all very positive. I remember a time when things were not so good and we used to always wonder, what will turn around this whole situation? While there was a lot of demand from developers that developers should drop prices, but we used to say at that point in time that, look, the whole ecosystem has to come together. Everything has to come together. If just one participant plays its role while the others don't participate in the same manner, then we will not see growth coming back to the real estate industry. I think so that is what has played around at this point of time. First of all, I would say full credit to RBI for creating an ecosystem wherein the whole system was flush with money. If you notice, they've ensured and reiterated a number of times that we will keep liquidity at a high level. The second thing is they've kept interest rates low. They've intervened through different means to ensure that interest rates don't go up. And all of this has been really, really positive. Coupled with that, we had a great budget coming in from the FM, where the whole focus was not so much on control of fiscal deficit, but it was more on growth. While controlling fiscal deficit is important, and the FM has also set long-term objectives for the same, but I think she was very clear that we want growth back in the economy. On the fact that manufacturing has to come up. A lot of incentives have been given for manufacturing so that new job creation can happen. For the first time, we also saw, real estate being recognized both at the central and the state level as an important subject for growth. And a lot of incentives have been given for the same, whether it was in terms of, benefits on affordable housing, whether it's in terms of ensuring that, tax benefits on, smaller houses remain, or for that matter, more money coming in from PMAY so that, houses become more affordable. All of that has been coming in a manner that, all parts of the ecosystem seem to be supporting it. There is support coming in from the central government. The state government chipped in with lower stamp duty, lower premium rates. Also the fact that, the gap, between the circle rates and the prices at which you sell could be increased from 10% to 20%, so that more people, can buy homes at a better price, and developers don't worry about selling homes at a lower rates. Developers chipped in with lower prices for houses, and the financial institutions came together to offer more money and also money at a much lower interest rates. So, everybody came together to bring about the situation in which we are present today. And this brings back to my original point. The markets wouldn't have moved if only one player would have moved or one participant would have moved in this. It requires all participants to work together, to walk together, to ensure that we get growth back into the economy. And it's very, very important. And Saloni spoke about, the basic factors on how its contribution to the GDP growth is, or for that matter, the nature of employment this industry offers. So, the realization that if the GDP growth rate has to come back to double digits, there is no way, if real estate does not come back, that we were going to see double-digit growth rates. So that realization has come in at all levels, and I feel that's the right thing which has happened. Different segments of real estates are going through, different, let me say, different, stage of happiness at this point of time. The residential sector seems to be doing extremely well. And we have seen this not only in the affordable or the mid-market segment, we are also seeing this in the premium segment. There is a fair amount of pent-up demand which is coming back, and we are seeing growth happening at all stages. In fact, I don't see a project which is not selling well at this point of time. But we all should remember that we need to create houses in the right price brackets if we want to create a sustained growth for this sector. It's also very important that at this point of time, when we are seeing good growth rates, the developers keep the price increases in check. They don't increase prices. Like we need low interest rates, we need more liquidity. We also need residential homes to be available at a price at which customers can afford it. I think on the residential side, with more people spend more time at home, we are going to see demand for residential homes increase over a period of time. As far as the commercial space is concerned, I heard I talk about how US will decide to outsource, or how work from home policy will play out. My personal belief, at least what I'm seeing in the service industry, is that a lot of people are coming back to office. Whether it's bank or financial institutions, almost all of them are working at full capacity. All branches are open. People are going out in the market. I think if we see low attendance, we are seeing low attendance only in the corporate office and not anywhere else. I think that is also coming back, and people are realizing that it's very different when you are in office and operate from there and meet your team. It's very different than if you operate only through the computer. So my personal belief is that we will see post the vaccinations happening, let's say post July or October, we will see attendance coming back to at least 80 to 90% of what it used to be originally. That's the time I feel the demand for commercial real estate will also be back. I don't know whether we will see a similar growth rate, because last year was a great year for commercial real estate. Maybe we will not see a similar growth rate, but I feel the market will grow. Maybe at more closer to double digits, market will grow, and we will see more absorption of commercial real estate happening. As far as retail industry is concerned, if you go out, at least you see the same amount of crowds in any malls today. Even on high street, you see fair amount of traffic walking into into the shops. I think if there is one segment which will take slightly longer, that's the retail segment, which will take slightly longer to come back. But the belief is this: by the end of this calendar year, things should be back to normal, and we should see growth happening there. However, there have been few learnings which have been there during this COVID period. One thing which I think all organizations have done, and maybe individuals too, they've all become leaner and slimmer. Organizations have found where flab existed within the organization, where they could cut costs and bring in more efficiencies, how they could increase productivity far more. I think that is a sustainable benefit and will continue in the long run. I think everybody is looking at how they can cut costs which really don't matter and pass on the benefits to the customers. So you will see the benefits flowing through the economy over a period of time and running into next year too. The other thing which is also been a big learning is the use of technology and digital far more than what it used to be. I think it all existed with us. We all knew about it, but in terms of adopting it, whether it was about customers or it was about employees in banks or financial institutions, I think the adoption was not as great as it should have been. I think COVID has taught us that adoption can be far more and much faster, and that is again a sustainable benefit which will continue in the long run. I think all organizations will spend far more on digital, will ensure that they have a direct to customer contact, and ensure that their services get delivered in a much faster and a more convenient manner in the future. I think with all of this and the potential which exists in the market, we're going to see far better times than what we have seen in the last 4 or 5 years. What is very important at this point of time for all players in the ecosystem is to ensure that all of this is sustained over a longer period of time. We don't make this as a benefit which accrued to us during the year, but we make this as a benefit which accrues to us over the next decade. So each one of us, whether it is the developer, whether it's the state government, whether it's the central government, whether it's the banks or other financial players, I think so all of us have a responsibility to ensure that this growth is sustained over a longer period of time. And I think all of us know our responsibilities, and we are all committed to making that happen. A very important point was mentioned in terms of how do we ensure that stuck projects come back. There's no inventory which is half complete or 80% complete which is lying there. We all have to ensure that if money has gone into that project, it sees the light of the day, and those projects get completed. All lending institutions, I can talk about ourselves and I'm sure about others, that if any of our project is stuck at any place, we are not stopping short on providing money so that the project can get completed. So none of the projects, I think all financial institutions are ensuring that the projects in which they are involved remain, or get completed. However, there could be certain challenges with certain financial institutions who may not have the wherewithal to do so. And there we have to find solutions. I would really compliment the Swami, in terms of how they have worked towards ensuring those projects get completed. But I don't think so one fund can solve this problem. We need, far more of the monies available so that projects see the light of the day. And if that happens, I'm telling you, the confidence in the system will grow even further. Because I think what holds back people at this point of time is when they have friends and relatives who have money stuck in a stuck project, that really dampens the spirit and they start moving towards either very good names or towards completed projects, which is not something which you want, because you also want money to flow into under construction projects, because that's an important means of financial closure. So let's hope that also happens, and we look forward to not a good year, but a good decade of period where we see real estate flourishing. Thank you so much.
Sir, thank you very much. As usual, the way you speak, only one request. You told, yes, developers have done very close. They have reduced the prices, everything. Banks have also reduced their rate of interest. But, sir, you have reduced it only for home buyers. So if you don't bring homes, from where the home buyers you will get? So my humble folded and request from all the industry for construction funding also. See, you have reduced whatever basis point you have reduced for home buyers. We want at least that much, and if not that much, at least 50% of that. What happens whenever developer comes, you people give money to the person who doesn't require at a very cheap rate, but the person who requires the money, you give him at a very costly rate. So my folded and request is that don't differentiate, because ultimately he is a developer. Today RERA has come. Each and everybody has to follow the norms and routine properly. So try and see to it that all the developers, okay, I will not tell you to keep the same rate, but at least the rates are being better. Thank you very much, sir.
Very important point. Very important point. And while it has come down, it's not come down the way it should have come down. And we take your point and we'll work on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I know you all the time support the industry and the developers. And I think the second woman power, Tara ma'am, also wants to speak something. Over to you, Tara ma'am.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm really happy that all of you are here joining us. I want to take this opportunity to talk to Miss Saloni. I'm going to call her Miss Saloni because she's much younger. I had the opportunity of talking to their MD, Mr. Shetty, a couple of months ago. NAREDCO gave me the opportunity. One of the things that I had brought up with him, and I want to bring back to Ms. Saloni now, I want to take every opportunity till SBI does it for the developer community, is that SBI lends money to developers where they have credit rating. I had requested Mr. Shetty that if for a period of time, SBI can change its or tweak its policy, and instead of rating the developers getting rated, the projects should get rated and then they should fund it. Because as we all know, lots of developers do from various organizations. So rating a developer is becoming a little difficult. They don't come up to the level that SBI wants. So please, ma'am, can you take it to your team that we as NAREDCO request you that projects should get rated and not developers. Thank you.
Tara ma'am, thank you very much. Saloni ma'am, as well as Raju Sabharwal, I want to tell you one thing. NAREDCO is seriously thinking of going into rating of developers the way the ma'am told as project rating. See, today I am not telling, or I am not disputing the rating agency whoever has rated all the developers, but we know in the past the AAA people, rated people also have gone bad.
Yes.
So my humble request and submission is that once we will do collaboration with the rating agency, and whatever is missing for those people because they just see the financial rating of a developer or a company. So we know the pulses of developer also. So we will try and form a rating company wherein that we will rate and we will tell you. The advantage of keeping NAREDCO in between would be that if anywhere, anytime if the project is stuck, you can directly call on us. We can help the developer and we can tell you wherever the developer is going wrong or whatever developer has to change. So Tara ma'am, thank you very much because this point, to be very honest, this was not the point of the forum, but when you took out, so it was easier for me to speak.
No, I got a chance because of Saloni ma'am.
Yeah.
So we will work with you and see how best we can help.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have our knowledge partner Researchgate India. So I would like to request Jyoti Prakash Gadia to just speak few words and highlight about the event.
Thank you so much, Rajan sir. Just ma'am, I wanted to highlight in terms of the mid-sized developer, there are 2-3 issues which are facing and which all the industry stalwarts being present here, Niranjan sir, Rajan sir, Anuj sir is also there. The first issue is that earlier in the means of finance, whenever the project closure used to take place, nearly 70% of the means of finance is to come from the customer finance, which we used to take care. Now the customer finance would be difficult to come during the tenure of the loan. It will come at the end of the project or so. So whether the bankers would be much more willing to lend in terms of like the perception of the banker was there, they was going to lend around 30 to 40% of the project cost or near the construction cost. So how this construction finance of this 70%, which the bankers has to play a very, very important role in taking this up. So this is one of the important issues in terms of the financial closure, which has to come up there. Secondly, what has also happened that due to Insolvency Act, which is coming, where the bank finance and the customer finance both are kept at par together. So the banks generally have the feeling that there is a security dilution in terms of my whatever the security that I give to the banker. As the Rajan sir has told that due to the RERA Act and coming, my financial discipline has come up. So all the mid-sized developer, all the top-end developer, they are getting the funding, but all the mid-sized developer, there is some sort of a reluctance by the banker in terms of giving the construction finance. So how the construction finance can come to a mid-sized developer? And regarding the inventory funding policy also that your bank has come up with, you have pointed out in one of the clauses in terms of that inventory funding is that 75% has to be sold in that particular project. We mean to say, ma'am, in terms, if any of the project where 50% of the inventory is also sold, it means the promoter has bought in the balance money in completion of the project. If it is an inventory, if it is a completed inventory project, how does it make a difference in terms of the skin in the game of the promoter, whether it is 75% sold or whether it is whatever is the amount of the percentage of sold? Based on the SBI policy, all the banks have also followed in the same line. So what has happened that inventory funding policy has also not taken it off the way that the desired result would have come back to. Fourthly, although the rate of interest has certainly come down and the builder has also reduced the prices, but then also the rental and the cost of capital gap is one of the highest in India. So we need to bring up this gap together, Saloni ma'am, and how we can just defer it out, because in the international market we have seen that it is only the interest only loan which is also given. So in case if in the next 10 years, in case if the loan that can be given for the first 10 years, it can only be an interest only loan and the principal may not be burdened on money over and above that. So how if the interest only loan product type of things can be considered? So these are some of the issues that we wanted to highlight in terms of the investment which has come up. So just wanted to bring to your notice, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Rajan sir.
So I'll ask my team to get back to you and maybe we can have a one-on-one discussion And
Yes,
another
ma'am.
thing-
I also, along with Rajan sir, and everybody will come along with you, and
Yes.
we will try and discuss all these issues on one-on-one. I think Anuj is also there for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Thank you, Jyoti ji. And ma'am, the man in form is already ready to fire for fire chat. But Anuj, I think Renu ma'am would join any moment, because I requested her without you, because we want, when I told woman power, so without only two women. So I thought if she joins immediately, it would be better. And till then, I think Raju Talwar is there, who was ex-SBI. Raju sir, if you can speak on, and the moment Renu ma'am comes, you can hand over her to speak. Raju Talwar sir. Raju sir, can you hear me out? I think Anuj, you can take it over.
Or Rajan, we can start. We can start, and then as Renu ma'am
But
comes
Renu
in,
ma'am
then
comes, so
we can
what I'm telling, when Renu ma'am comes, let her address. So we can pause for that 5-10 minutes, whatever time is there. Huh?
Perfect.
Yes,
Let me start. I know we have a hard stop at 4:30, so I want to maximize because we've heard so many beautiful comments by Miss Saloni, Rajiv, Jyoti, and Tara ma'am. I have a number of questions for Sanjay, Rajiv, and Miss Saloni, but let me start with Rajiv. Rajiv, I love what you said is that guys, let's make sure that we are responsible. And this is a sustained growth, and we don't do anything which cuts down this growth. It's like a golden goose which is laying golden eggs, and we don't want to cut the goose and open up to get in all the eggs. I didn't think through that, and it's the first time that I have heard that statement, and I thought it was so apt. So my question, Rajiv, to you is, what can we guys do wrong?
Yeah, Jyoti raised a lot of good points, but one point I had a disagreement with. This whole concept of interest-only loans. One of the challenges, one of the reasons why the 2008 crisis occurred was this. When the equity of the customer in the asset became so small that it was not worth retaining the mortgage on your book. So we have to do things which will allow for more this growth to be sustained over a longer period of time. When we were giving 20-year loans, if we start moving towards a 25 or a 30-year loan, still understandable, because if you are getting a customer early on in his age, at the age of 30, if you're giving a 30-year loan also, it is fine, as long as that makes it affordable. We know that while a customer may take a 30-year loan, he will invariably pay it in 10 years or in a shorter period of time. So we have to do things which will allow for this to be sustained. See, the other thing which is extremely important, and which was always true, that why, the reason why more outsourcing happened to India, the primary reason was that we had human capital which was not available, and English speaking human capital which was available with us, which was not available anywhere else. The second was also the cost of real estate. It was affordable for people to take in large spaces. Now we have to ensure that we don't do anything such that the prices go up, and that is not only in the control of the developer, the state and work together. I think Renu has joined, but I'm just saying that from that perspective, it is very important that the price at which per square foot at which the properties are leased don't move up sharply. The state, in Maharashtra has done a number of things to ensure that the transaction cost and the cost of creating the property is also kept low. The recent benefits which have been given. Now, these are really progressive things. I would say these are really progressive things. And some of these things have to be sustained over a longer period of time, and you will realize the benefit accruing because of volumes will far outweigh the benefits which you may have by higher stamp duty rates or other things. So, how do we all work together to make that happen is going to be very critical. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more after this, but, Renu has joined and all, it's over to her we all want to listen to her.
Ma'am, good afternoon, and I am extremely sorry that I troubled you or I pestered you. But I will tell all my fellow developers and the people on the panel, we should learn the commitment from Renu ma'am. She was so busy, but she has made it because she told me I committed to you, so I have to honor it. Ma'am, thank you very much. I don't want to waste any time because entire August Guardian is waiting for you to listen.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
I love to see. I wish this was in person because there's so many people here I don't know. Especially ma'am, you from SBI, and we should make it a point to come and meet up and work together on this. So, I'm sorry, this is unusual circumstances. I had some sort of an emergency, but I just needed to, I just wanted to say 2-3 things. And I think this has been said I heard Rajiv say it right now a few minutes ago, and I'm sure the others have also said the same thing. I think this is a huge opportunity we are all sitting on. It has never happened where all the forces are in favor of us, where our rates of interest are really the lowest. Today, ma'am, you have announced an even lower rate at SBI. It's making us, aware that, interest rates actually are now, after some time, going to slowly maybe, go up. I think it's bottomed out. US developers have been very, very sensible about pricing. And I think the government initiatives, most important being the stamp duty. And now every government is actually catching up. Rajasthan has done something. Madhya Pradesh has done something. So my plea here really was to all of you developers, since we are addressing so many of you, let's for once, just make sure that we all give our best. We at the banks are trying to give the best rate. We at I think somewhere my biggest real concern is that don't let rates go up. Actually, I saw what Rajiv said last minute, and this is what I really wanted to come in, Rajiv, and say, please don't get carried away with pricing. I'm told that in Bombay, some of the pricing has already started moving up. Please don't do that. I think there is a lot of confidence slowly coming back into the market. People are venturing out and buying. That fear of projects not getting completed still is huge and exists. So let us not get carried away by the numbers we are seeing. That all of us are saying we've done the highest numbers in terms of sanctions, in terms of disbursements. Papers carry about how Bombay business has gone up in February, highest ever. But believe me, it's only transitory. And because of the benefits, government benefits are not going to be there forever. So let us not get carried away by being trying to make that extra bit. So which is I really wanted to say. I think in the last few years that we've seen, and I'm actually preaching to the converted, and all of you guys know what is good for us. But at the same time, sometimes there is this opportunity because a lot of the developers have also gone through tough times to see whether we can make also some faster money. And I just request, don't fall for that. My other thing I wanted to request you as a group, let us try and push more all the governments, wherever, Naredco and sorry, I have to take your competition's name, CRIDAI, etc. Wherever you've worked, you've managed to get something out of the governments. And I think we need to do that particularly. I think we need to do it across the country. But we really need to do it where the larger volumes are there. So, Karnataka, Chennai, Delhi, I'm trying to get an appointment with the Delhi people here, Haryana. I think a lot of the Naredco team, Rajan, is concentrating a lot on Maharashtra. And in some of the areas, I think the Delhi builders, I don't know how many you have as part of your group, should also go and, make case studies and show them how beneficial it has been in terms of eventually the property taxes that you get, the volumes make up for the reduction in rate. So that is one of the things I also wanted to tell you was. My other thing was, digital and how we can use digital technology for not only processing, which all of us do it in some way or the other, but also at the municipality and also at the when you're booking the property. I think if those changes are required hugely, sometime back we had taken it up even with the minister, Mr. Puri, even this whole concept of wet signatures and dry signatures. I think I know that Mr. Hiranandani had talked about it, but I think if he makes up his mind to get something done, he succeeds. So my request to him is if he can really work with the ministries and especially with I think this comes under the Telecom Act, how we can, it's going to take a few months to get a change, maybe even more. But if we start working on trying to get digital signatures as an accepted way of actually booking properties and creating a mortgage, I think this is something will go a long way because the world is changing. Everybody is going digital and we need to spend more time on that. The government has actually spoken, let's be honest. I think we have the best tax benefits. Asking them for anything more is now really not going to be fair on them. They have done a lot. The CLSS subsidy has been a huge landmark, what they started with, and most of the customers have actually benefited from it. There too, I think, if we can, push them to cover more areas. They're still limited from what I understand because we get huge number of complaints where we are not able to cover. So as a body, if we can say, if it is a house, if somebody is buying a house and all these CLSS criteria has been satisfied, they should get the subsidy. Why not? So we are getting so many. I don't know what my other bankers feel, and you're all on, having ma'am, you and Rajiv and all of you. We get a lot of complaints that still many of the areas are not covered. So as a movement, as developers, maybe we should, this is the next thing that I think we should take up with them. Again, I would say the best thing that we've seen, and a government in its own way has also, the moratorium that they've given to the developers, and now I'm addressing the developer fraternity. I really request you, all the reschedulement and all the moratoriums that have been, been used and all the restructuring, I really request from the bottom of my heart if the developers can get a lot more organized and ensure that once a restructuring has been done or once a benefit has been got under any of these schemes, that going forward, that there is no delay and no payment delays. This is happening in a lot of the CF cases. I know everybody here most probably has not taken a construction finance loan, but it'll go a long way in confidence building, both from a point of view of the lender, from point of view of the, the government, from, we are all regulated. And the regulations, as you know, are getting more and more rigid for good reasons. There's no question. I think some need to be, strong and rigid. But I think I expect some understanding of what financial institutions have to also go through at times to be able to lend. So a lot of people say that eventually, the banks are not lending. That's a big complaint, that the developers are not getting funding. It is the reasons sometimes are actually beyond the lender also, much as that you may want to do that, but you're not able to do that. For example, if you've rescheduled a loan, please make sure that it doesn't become an NPA at the end of the term or whatever, has been done. So I just wanted to say that it's a great opportunity. We are at the right time. I think Anuj has been talking to us also, and we are looking at definitely a revival. We will play our role. I'm sure all my, my colleagues here will agree who are in this business. Just request the developers to also come and play their part.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Anuj wants to ask you one question, but before Anuj asks, Ma'am, I would like to tell you, we have our colleague from Jammu and Kashmir, and in month of May, I want commitment from all the people on the panel. On the month of May, we are going to have a real estate investor summit, global real estate investor summit under MOA in Srinagar. I want all your commitment 2 months before, because
Rajan, I don't know what the others will say. I think May people will not travel. May is too early. I'm sure nobody is going to be happy to go to Srinagar. I mean,
Ma'am,
we're just starting the vaccinations. The second wave, or the third or the fourth, I don't know, is going to happen. Do not plan for May. If you want, plan for September and over.
Ma'am, Durga Shankar Mishra doesn't listen. You have got very good rapport with Durga Shankar Mishra as well as Hardeep Singh Puri. You be our brand ambassador, because he wanted to do it in November. You will not believe. Last November, sir wanted to do. I told them, sir, I can't do it because it's impossible. So we did it online. On November, we did it online. But this time he wanted to do it in April. I told sir, April is too early. बोला फिर ठीक है. Then next is May. उसके बाद में मुझे नहीं करना है. So you know how they work.
All my colleagues are here. Let them take a call.
Yeah. One is that, and second, one more thing before you came, ma'am, we at NEREDCO are thinking of starting a rating agency in collaboration with CRISIL, ICRA or somebody. The advantage of that rating agency would be that we knows the pulse of developer, we knows whatever. So today also you know कि whenever is problem or project is into a problem, we as NEREDCO come forward and we help the developer, help the institution, and help the project also come up.
You know, it is need of the hour if you can really do that. You know, if you see in all these loans that we're getting for restructuring, I'm not passing a comment on what the RBI has done. They've done a fantastic job to restructure, but nobody really understood what real estate is. To restructure real estate, look, when you're dumping all of them together, not separate. You have to look for real estate companies to offer developers. Each project has to be looked at separately. And put everything in one basket, get about 20 bankers and ask them to take a decision. So if you can do something like that, even understanding rating of real estate projects and real estate business definitely is different from rating a manufacturing company. So if you can really manage to do that, I think it'll be a very good, all of us in this.
Ma'am, we have two stalwarts, Rajiv Talwar as well as Niranjan Hiranandani. They do whatever they decide, we just implement. So for us, their wish is our command.
Yeah.
And one more request, what I did, Raju Sabharwal and Saloni ma'am, I want to do it to you also. You have reduced the rate for home loans for home buyers. But ma'am, if you don't build house, from where will you lend the loan for home buyers? So see to it that whatever benefit you have passed on to the home buyer, the same benefit should be passed on to us in construction funding. Over to you, Anuj. And ma'am, thank you very much. I think at last, Tara ma'am also would like to thank you. Before you
I'm
leave.
really sorry. I'm really embarrassed and I'm really sorry. But I couldn't lose the opportunity of telling all the developer partners of ours, don't increase prices, please.
Now, Renu,
we don't increase.
I know that you're going through a personal event right now. We are really, really grateful that you made it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Stay safe.
Anuj,
Thank you. Hi, ma'am. I know you're going to run. I have just one quick question. You've seen the crisis of 2008, and we went through this pandemic of 2020. What was the difference between 08 and 2020 crisis? I know one was financial, one was health, but for real estate, were there differences between the two crises?
So I think to some extent, Anuj, the real difference was that the markets were much larger. All of us were much bigger. At that time, real estate 2008 was important, but not that important. Today, the sort of funding that has gone into real estate at various levels, State Bank was barely lending at that time. ICICI had started, so the amount of money and the amount of, capital that is, there, and the number of people who have been affected are so much larger that we need to get everybody out of it. Whether it is the retail investor, whether it is our developer partners, something has to be really done to make sure. I mean, fortunately, at 2008, there were no casualties. Nothing really happened. In fact, a lot of us bankers were surprised that, nobody, everybody managed to get money. The AIMS market started, there was no PE funds at that time. All of a sudden, the PE funds started coming in. So alternate sources were, but this is very different also just in terms of size. Therefore, it is even more important that, something be done. And I think they have done it. Let's face it, Anuj, a lot has been done. I think this moratorium has been such a savior that has happened. Of course, the proof is here. We'll still know once the Supreme Court comes out with the final judgment where we are. But it at least gave all of us, and including the customers, some breathing time to get your act together and to get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Is that the scale is very different where we were in 2008, we are today, and hence, the sector demands that much more attention coming in from various stakeholders.
Good.
Sorry, Raji. I know you have to run, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Obliged. Thank you.
All of you sometime. Not in May, huh? Do it later. Then you can Bye. Take care.
I will try. I will pass on the message to Durga Shankar sir.
Take care.
Actually, we wish you the very best for whatever emergency you're going. Wish you the very best.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. We'll catch up.
Bye.
Madam.
Sorry, Rajiv. I was just going to ask you a quick question. I'm just conscious about time. We have 17 minutes before we have a hard stop. So Rajiv, the point that you mentioned in your opening remarks about being responsible, and I think Mrs. Sood really referred to that as well as one of the potential pitfalls, which could be if the prices start to go up and the momentum of sales starts to break. What other pitfalls could possibly be there, Rajiv?
See, I think the other challenge would be in terms of if there are projects which get started where there is no financial closure, which may face challenges on completion. That's a perennial challenge, always. And what happens is when you are euphoric and the markets are euphoric, you tend to believe that everything will sell, and you probably go into projects where you shouldn't have gone. So that's the other challenge. I was just thinking that could there be any mistakes made by the lenders? When there is so much money available and there isn't growth in the other sectors, and you're going to put money into something somewhere because you have to grow, you have to grow your balance sheet, then could you be making certain excesses and lending where you shouldn't be lending? Those are the things which take place at this point of time. And I always feel that, when we are seeing growth happening across the economy, in the corporate, in the SME and the retail segment, then probably more responsible lending happens. But when, the other sectors are not growing and all money is flowing into one sector, you should just be on guard so that you don't make mistakes. So mistakes can happen from any of these places. But if you're talking about developers, I think so the biggest risk is obviously, hiking of prices, and taking up projects not at the right location and not at the right prices, which you may not be able to complete or sell. From finances, obviously, is just for growth. If you loosen your credit standards, then there could be certain challenges. I think the government also, the incentives which have been given, I feel none of these incentives should be taken off suddenly. We should not believe that we are out of the woods, that the sector is out of the woods, and now it can be taken away. I think we can call the sector to be out of woods if we have seen growth for 2.5 to 3 years. If you've seen growth for 6 months to 12 months and say that the sector is now doing well and we can take away the benefits, I don't think so. That is appropriate and right. And you should ensure that these benefits continued for at least 2.5 to 3 years. So this is what I would believe.
Yeah, beautiful. All the three stakeholders, for the lenders, developers, the government to withdraw the support slowly, lenders to make sure that they continue to be disciplined, and developers to make sure that either the prices don't go up or they don't launch projects where the financial closure hasn't really happened. Mr. Saloni, just two quick questions to you. One is, given you're the largest bank in the country, you would have seen a fair amount of consumer demand or the pattern of their buying change. Is there something that you can sort of tell us where you are seeing starkly the pattern of spending change? And the second is, do you think after this moratorium, the NPA levels within the banking system is going to go up?
So as regards the spending pattern, definitely there is some, after the lockdown, people have realized that they need to save, need to spend.
Come on.
So the discretionary spending has come down, and demand for say travel related loans or some such luxury and all has come down. There is no doubt about it. But at the same time, we have not seen demand come down. I mean, people still feel that they need houses because end of the day, they want ceiling on their heads to make sure that their family is secure and the future is secure. So that one is a very, very clear thing that has come out after the pandemic. And the other thing is the usage of digital. I mean, people are now going contactless, and they are spending more on their credit cards. The UPI wallet share has increased, the digital payment has increased. All that very clear shift we can see, and the technology, the digital adoption has already increased manifold. So these two things we have seen very clearly. And as far as spending is concerned, in the initial period, what we thought was people are really trying to take care of the cash flow mismatch. More than anything, they want to make sure that their EMI is paid, that whatever necessity items they are taken care of. So that continues, and we find that people are taking more of gold loan, and there is a lot of churn in these kind of loans. We did around 10 lakh gold loans in this 9 months, and only in the personal segment. I'm not even talking about the agriculture segment. But there's a lot of churn. So we open around, say, 4 lakh accounts per month, and ultimately the net increase is just 1.5 lakh customers. So that is the churn we are seeing, and that is more for taking care of the needs of the family. This is one very, very clear thing that has come out after this pandemic. And we are seeing sustained momentum as far as personal segment retail growth is concerned. The next question that you have asked is about the NPAs. Yes, the banks cannot turn their eye from this particular thing that is sitting on everybody's head. And we have to be very, very mindful of the stress in the system. We have given around 1.5 lakh crores in this GECL, all banks put together. That is the amount that we have given. So we are tracking these accounts very closely. Not sure whether they are that was enough to help the MSMEs come out of this morass that they were in. And for other segments, people somehow did not opt for restructuring, although RBI came up with a very good scheme. People did not opt for restructuring. We found that we hardly had 10,000 people actually availing this restructuring. Moratorium, yes, we offered to everybody, but even there we found around only 20% actually availing the moratorium. So by and large, comfort is there as far as home loans. The state State Bank book is concerned. But I'm not sure about the banks at large, because there is stress in the system. We have to wait and watch, and all bankers have to be very, we have to have a sharp eye on the portfolio. Almost on a daily basis, we are monitoring. We are doing a lot of outreach programs. We are helping out the vulnerable segment. So a lot of steps we are taking, and frankly speaking, my time mostly is engaged in this only. We are making sure that this quarter and the next 2 quarters, which is equally critical, somehow if we are able to manage these 3 quarters, I think we are out of the woods after that.
Absolutely, I understand. Thank you very much, Mr. Saloni. This is, good thought on both the NPAs and the customer buying pattern. Sanjay, I'm going to take a little bit more time with you. I have a number of questions for you. So if I may, you're the champion of office in India, and Rajiv mentioned in his opening remarks, work from home. So 3 questions just on that one, Sanjay. One is, when do you think the demand is going to come back? Because Rajiv, mentioned, and I also believe is that at least this calendar year, it may not. Second, has it impacted the rentals? And third is, should developers start constructing office, or they should take a pause? When does the demand come back? Has it impacted rentals? And should the developers continue with developing offices, or halt for the time being?
Thank you, Anuj. A very good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I believe, Anuj, with 4% occupancy in office buildings, nearly 98% rent collection, and close to 25 million square feet commitment for new office in the year 2020 speaks volume in terms of how the corporate world sees the role of office space in terms of productivity of an employee in a controlled environment versus work from home. While work from home will be added complement and give flexibility to the workers, and therefore the larger purpose would be served, I believe this drop from 49 million square feet to 25 million square feet in 2020 was much better than what you and I predicted at the starting of the pandemic. So that's one positive news. 4% occupancy, 98% rent collection, Anuj, that's incredible. Tata Realty actually saw nearly 8% rental growth. And I can vouch that for about 350 million square feet out of the 650 million square feet, which is in the organized space because we interact with each other. The second part, so when would the office demand return to the levels before? I think it will take minimum 2 years. And the reason I say that is the corporate world, most of the organized space, they are Fortune 500 companies. And they are not worried about saving some pennies. They're worried about saving the lives of the people who are the most productive asset in an office environment. And they are not in a hurry. They have already announced that even if you don't come to office and work from home, it's okay. And I think the IT company sector, which anyway works remotely for US and European markets, has demonstrated that you can work and function effortlessly, even though your physical infrastructure is compromised. The second part is clearly the cost arbitrage that India continues to enjoy. It will continue even after the sunset clause of March 2020 for this special economic zone, because the corporate tax has come down. And not to forget, India is still a $16, $17 per square feet market vis-a-vis $60 per square feet per annum market outside of India. So like Rajiv mentioned, India provides really cost-effective real estate solution. But more importantly, it is the cost of the workforce which is still attractive. And the dollar-rupee situation has also helped. So demand will definitely return. I got initial data points that when the request for proposals from corporates were put on hold in the H1 of 2020, they have started to come back, which basically means the corporates are now out looking for space. The other reason I want to highlight is, for the first time, Anuj, India benefited with the herd mentality. So the herd mentality always affected developers, because if you do one resi, everybody does resi. If one does affordable, everybody does affordable. So there is a glut in the market, and that is what has caused the inventories to spike, which have fortunately have come down. For the first time, the herd mentality was under check, because the moment the pandemic happened, the speculation that we were expecting in commercial real estates on the supply side got stalled. So we were supposed to have 65 million square feet in the top 8 cities in India. It is down to 36 million square feet in 2020, and that will continue. So unlike residential, where you have excessive supply and inventory, and it will take 25 months to exhaust that inventory, and which is moving out at a very fast pace because of many projects that remain stuck, and they will take time to come back, and the demand is returning. This problem does not exist in commercial. So that's one good news, Anuj. The second aspect was about the tenants. When will they come to office, Anuj? I expect by the end of this financial year, you will see 50 to 60% occupancy in office spaces, for the reason I mentioned earlier. I just want to come again to you to ask for the third question, Anuj.
So I'll come to the third one. But Sanjay, very interesting. Because the supply went down, the thought is that the rentals will to remain where it is. And it's a very important point you say, Sanjay, that 4% occupancy in the offices, yet the rent collection is 98%.
Yes.
I mean, amazing data, 4% occupancy in the offices. So the corporates, the occupiers, the lessees have behaved, and they have paid through the lockdown period. And the third is fixed escalations. For example, in Tata's, you mentioned the fixed escalation in the rents have been honored by the corporates.
Yes. And Anuj, while we have seen the honoring of the contract, there are some exceptions to this. So smaller companies, strata stole properties, there must be some pain. So I'm not discounting that.
So the story is not as horrible, Sanjay. Story is not horrible.
Not at all. Not at all.
Anuj, if I can ask one point here related, if you permit. This data, Sanjay, if we have to break this data between Indian corporates and multinational corporates in terms of 4% occupancy, I believe this number will be very different, but you put some light on it. And the second point is, one more point related is, look, we are going in for a big make in India, effort. So there will be a huge demand for industrial spaces, warehouses, and so on and so forth. A lot of this production is going to shift from China. The supply chains are getting disrupted. So a lot of that will happen in India. So the demand on the other parts of real estate also are going to skyrocket. So there would be opportunities. So just wanted to get your thoughts on this. And obviously the Indian versus multinational, because I see all Indian companies, my friends I speak to, most of them are in office
here. Very good question, Rajiv. 11% of my leasing portfolio of Trill, close to 6.4 million square feet, is with a very large Indian IT company. And I'm very pleased to say not only them, but even some of the other IT companies, which I would imagine our percentage of Indian corporates in my portfolio would be roughly about 25-30%. They have honored their commitment. The only area where there would be some constraint or perhaps expectation from the tenant, from the developer, is what we saw during global financial crisis. And this is on an average, in this country, we receive a lot of renewal, consolidation, termination of leases every year, because the total stock is 650 million square feet. On an average, you will see about 15 to 20 million square feet coming to market every year, conservatively for renewal. The only thing that tenants are asking that at least for my renewal, if you can consider a reduction in my rent escalation. So some may want 100%, some may want some relaxation. So that is something which even we have as developer community being sensitive to the environment and the overall circumstances, and to retain the tenants in our park. As a retention strategy, some of us has implemented that. Second, we've also passed on the benefit of maintenance cost savings to a tenant in many cases. So it's been very much appreciated. And not to forget that during pandemic, we had to spend extra money to be more compliant, to service a very good work environment. So the people who are coming to work, even though it's a small percentage, they are looked after. So a lot of CapEx is going in, Rajiv, in that space. And I think these proactive measures by the organized sector has given a lot of confidence to the global occupiers and the Indian IT companies, unlike the fears of manufacturing in the China, where it has opened up new doors to India for expanding on manufacturing and warehousing and logistic and data centers, which are growing segments that add to the overall growth of the real estate story in this country.
Thank you, Sanjay. Rajiv, just in addition to what Sanjay said is that I would say is Indian corporates will be about 20-25% attendance and multinational will be probably 2 to 3%. And that's how the average will come in, low single digit percentage. And we're seeing that even in Bombay, which is amongst the worst hit city, there the attendance is coming to 35-40% compared to Bangalore, which is very low single digit, exactly what Sanjay is saying is. And so it is true what you're saying is, maybe the difference is, Rajiv, it's front office versus back office. Yeah, it is also multinationals versus Indian corporates. We're seeing Indian corporates coming up. Sorry, Sanjay, I've been told by Rajan that I need to close this very quickly. I do want to ask one quick question, Sanjay, to you is, do you think equity come back into residential?
I believe most of the friends in the private equity space that I've been speaking to, they want to seize the opportunity because they know that this is the right time to enter. And this is exactly what you've seen on the office side. $4 billion got committed beside a new listing of a REIT. So I think it is inevitable, Anuj, and I wouldn't be surprised. And the second reason why it would, they know exactly who to partner and invest with, Anuj, and which markets to go for and what segments of residential they want to put their monies in. I think all of these 3 or 4 criteria will bring private equity back to real estate.
Super. Sorry, I know we've stretched Rajan. Sorry, guys, to my panelists as well. I had a ton of questions, but I think
you can ask last one to Ashok. Ashok,
if we can have 2 more minutes, I do want to ask, Ashok ji, and Ashok ji, I think it is a question that everybody's got in their mind. Is this pent-up demand, or is this sales momentum that we are seeing on residential going to be beginning of an upcycle? So are we seeing just a pent-up demand, or we're seeing beginning of a good cycle?
So I'll say it's a mix of both of them. Initially, yes, Anuj, it seemed to be a pent-up demand, which now actually culminates to actual buying. So people have realized what the value of a home is, and they feel that ghar hamesha ghar hi rahega, and that is most important for them. Anuj, you would have observed, the numbers, so I won't repeat the numbers, but yes, the millennials are the ones who are actually taking decisions, and they're the ones who are wanting to, own their own space and, live the way they want to design their homes. So I think it's a good beginning, and this demand will sustain, provided we developers don't get greedy and don't, increase the prices. We maintain the prices and give, better stuff. As it is, there has been a lot of, kind of churning happen. The men and the boys have separated. So now my urge to the men is that you sustain and continue this spree and don't, do anything that will hamper it. Yeah.
Beautiful, Ashok ji. जैसे बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में, आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर. Let this demand sustain. And hopefully, as Rajiv said at the beginning of his talk, is that, all of us will behave responsibly and ensure that we don't do anything which unnecessarily curtails this upcycle. With that, Rajan, if I can
Tara ma'am was the main instrumental in doing this webinar. So I would like Tara ma'am to thank everyone and declare that the event is over. Now over to you, Tara ma'am.
Thank you, guys. A special thank you to Saloni ma'am, Renu, Anuj, Rajiv, of course, Rajan, Sanjay Dutt, the works. Now, before I sign off, I just want to say one small thing is that please do not forget all the promises that has been done on this forum. Don't do anything like Ashok said. Don't bring up your prices. Don't get greedy. And another thing is we all forget history very, very fast. Please do not forget what our migrant laborers have gone through. Keep that in mind day in and day out. Make them happy. We'll all be happy. All the very best, guys. And I think we should have this kind of a forum at least once a month. And thank you very much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, ma'am. And I would
Thank
like
you.
to thank entire secretariat. Yeah, Anuj, you are telling something.
Absolutely. They've done a wonderful job. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Raju sir. And thank you, Saloni ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Rai.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure meeting, although on virtual. Hope to catch up physically someday.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you. Anuj, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
You are as excellent as ever and as crisp as ever.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Uncle.